Well, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to today's virtual webinar. My name is Jim Fleeler, Vice President of Sales for Charlotte Products in Canada. Normally, we get together in person, and however, due to the uncertainty of COVID-19, obviously, we cannot do that. We need to protect ourselves, and so we must remain separate. Over the last 7 months or so, we've really managed to alter the way that we do business and develop new innovative ideas and formats of distanced education to lower the risk of an outbreak. We're all learning as we go along. Now more than ever, enhanced training that applies to your facility is a priority, obviously in a virtual format for sure. One of the cornerstones of Charlotte Products is really knowledge transfer and our capability to do that. So thank you for attending today, and let's begin today's session. Our agenda: industry COVID-19 update, pre, mid, and post. And when we first originally planned this, we were hoping it was going to be post-COVID-19, but obviously we're probably mid right now, if the truth be known. We're going to talk about the heightened importance of our role and challenges. We're going to talk a little bit about price-based cleaning and quality versus quality-based cleaning. We're also going to talk about 5 disinfectant security elements, which is really key to you lowering the risk of an outbreak and helping your facilities. And we'll talk about a few priorities that you can use and tips for your facilities. So right into the challenges and opportunities and learnings. COVID-19 has really turned our world upside down, okay? Does not matter what industry, right before our eyes, the last 7 months has really been detrimental. It's unprecedented, and we quite honestly don't know where we're going to go down the road. The scientists cannot accurately predict it. It's uncertain how long it's going to continue. There is public fatigue setting in. There's economical pressure. There's employment stress, and mental wellness are all serious issues that we're learning to deal with. And if you just go out and about and you're, through whether you're at work or your home or in your neighborhood or whatever, you can just see a little bit more tension on people's faces there. And that's really the direct reflection of COVID-19 and what it's doing. Winter's fast approaching. There is a much higher indoor risk as opposed to outside. Then you add in the impact of the seasonal flu and the lack of social distancing. They all heighten the risk, right? We had the first wave roll through. Now we're in the middle of the second wave. And then there's even mention of a trilogy in the making, which would be a third wave taking us long into 2021. Flu shots for this fall already at a shortage stage, so recommendations for you: obviously get your flu shot faster than you normally will. If you didn't get it ever in the past before, you may want to reconsider that and take your doctor's advice for that. Okay, but now more than ever, we need to learn and educate ourselves on how to lower the risk of an outbreak, and we really do believe that we will come out stronger on the other end if we all do our part. And I really talk about that word if, because that's critical. So protecting yourself and your family, we really need to emphasize this for each and every one of you. There is a mirror on the wall, and if you remember that one movie from way back where that talked about mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all? It's not about that, right? It's really every single one of us are responsible for lowering or increasing our risk. And the benefits of wearing a mask are priceless. All doctors, all Centers for Disease Control, the World Health Organization, doesn't matter who it is, they're all talking about the importance of a mask. If you go out and about again, there's a certain percentage of people that do not wear a mask, okay? And quite honestly, that's wrong. So I'm going to show you a little small demonstration right now. And basically, what I have here is I have just an aerosol can, the manufacturer's block to protect them. I've got a standard mask here. And if you wear a mask, okay, if you don't wear a mask, hopefully this shows, you can see that. If you wear a mask, if you don't wear a mask, if you wear a mask, now let's talk about protecting you. That's you protecting others, but let's talk about you. If you don't wear a mask, people don't wear a mask. If you wear a mask, you see that? The importance of wearing a mask. It will help you every single time, okay? One excellent tip for protecting yourself and your family today. Okay, I need a screen advance here. And I've got it coming. Here we go. So let's remember cleaning, okay? This is a slide that we refer to for many, many years here. And really, we've got to remember that cleaning is an investment in human health. You know, any relation to COVID-19? Absolutely. It's a positive contribution to our future generations. It plays a critical role of disease and accident prevention, okay? It also protects facility assets, business profitability, the longevity of any company, and it really relates to positive perceptions. And I'll give you an example in a second about business profitability. But this is a slide we've talked about for many years, and you know what's interesting? It does relate directly to COVID-19. Now, I'll show you my little bug. This is a personal experience of mine. I was staying at a hotel, and I can't say the name of the hotel or the country or wherever it was, but when I got in the room, I checked in, I set up my laptop, and the next thing you know, I felt something lurking in the room, and I looked behind, and there was 2 of these little friendly critters, okay? And that's a king-size bed there, by the way, so you can see in scale how big that thing was. There was 2 of them. As soon as I turned around, one scurried down, okay? Now, that's a visible, what I would relate to as a visible virus. That thing is probably carrying, it's been in the sewers, it's been in the drains, it's been in the showers, it's been absolutely everywhere. It's probably carrying some sort of bacterial virus, but let's relate that to COVID-19. Okay, COVID-19 is invisible, but it could come around just as prevalent as that, only being visible. Okay, 2020 custodial challenges. There is an increased emphasis on our entire industry. There is implementation of technology coming at us faster than there ever has been. There's low maintenance substrates coming. There's a decline in polymer coatings. There's loss of distributor deep expertise, and there's loss in end user expertise. A lot of that is due to, people retiring, people away, companies closing because of COVID-19, whatever it may be, but they all relate to COVID-19. Just one other example, employee wellness pertaining to healthcare and food processing facilities. Now more than ever, we really have to ensure that we're taking care of ourselves and the public and our workforce. Infection prevention, outbreak prevention. I've always talked about custodial team morale. How do you motivate somebody to get out of bed and go to clean up somebody else's mess? And that's really what we do, okay? Also a challenge is the ability to adapt to the latest innovation, which is cobots or robots and drones now flying around, phone apps, electrostatic sprayers, misters, foggers, it doesn't matter what it is. They're all coming at us like you wouldn't believe, but we've really got to stop and remember we've got to be able to identify the facility's top pain points and resolve those. Again, all related to COVID-19. Also, a few more, improving the total facility health and employee wellness, all the way across the board. Avoiding liability, slip and fall incidents, social media. That's an instant issue we have today. Now we're getting numbers of facilities where there are outbreaks and illnesses and loss of life and all of those things. And sooner or later, that's related to the custodial janitorial world. And that's either going to be a negative impact on us or positive, okay? The average age of the workforce is increasing. That stress of COVID-19 is playing a little bit more havoc on our mental wellness and things like that. So we've all got to really look at these challenges. How do we find efficiencies to complement the average age of the workforce that's increasing, okay? We need innovation in our marketplace. We need cleaner facilities, precision cleaning emphasis focused on higher risk contact surfaces. And you just think about this. Finally, I think we're getting it where we're identifying those critical risk cross-contamination points there, and that's really a reference of precision cleaning, but there's a demand to increase the cleaning frequencies of those as well. So that's an additional challenge. How do you increase your cleaning and disinfecting protocol with the same exact budget? Okay, very tricky, can be done without question, but again, a relation to COVID-19. Okay, long-standing custodial challenges, doing more with less, fewer resources, less money, budget restraints, ready-to-use costing versus the price of goods, less time, increased responsibilities, and a faster pace of life. COVID-19 has a direct relation here as well. Okay, so now that we sort of have a better understanding of what our challenges are, we've got to look at the best approach moving forward. There is a heightened awareness of our industry and how critical cleanliness is and how it contributes to us all. That's a good thing for us. That's not something you want to shy away from. There's a worldwide focus now. Every single country pretty well, every industry, we're all affected. And then there's higher cleaning priorities within facilities, perhaps changing the mindset of price-based cleaning versus quality-based cleaning. And I'll talk about that a little bit later as we go along. The summary here is clean sells and protects, and that's good for every single one of us to highlight the priorities and the return on investment for facilities in the custodial janitorial world. Let's talk a little bit about COVID-19 and some travel characteristics, okay? It travels through the air. It really is, projectiles from unprotected sneezing, coughing, and poorly maintained HVAC systems. A lot of things in the news now from governments and education sector businesses or accounts, I guess, such as colleges, universities, and K-12 about the inferior HVAC systems. That's coming to light there now. But just the building occupant flow, okay? People, students, patients, Mr. and Mrs. Residential, workers, all moving along, with open windows, doors, and loading docks and things like that. That flow going through buildings now is a travel characteristic of COVID-19. Then you go to human touch and cross-contamination and disrespect of social distancing. And then you've got to remember that COVID-19 is a droplet-based virus, okay? And it will fall to horizontal surfaces such as desks and counters and floors and even through your carpeting and things like that. And you've got to remember, it isn't all just about the air. It's really all about those contact surfaces such as floors and counters and desks and things like that. Personal workspaces would be another example. Let's talk about price-based cleaning versus quality-based cleaning. Generally in the custodial janitorial world, budgets are only so big, okay, or small, right? And budgets only go so far. And I mean, there's such a thing as not prioritizing janitorial and cleaning services there. Money needs to go for more capital investments, whatever it may be. But custodial janitorial programs play a vital role in lowering the risk of an outbreak, okay? The facility cleaning objectives are typically much higher than the overall spend that's allowed, right? Lowest price often wins the business. Those of you in the crowd today are a lot of building service contractors there, and you've probably won awards based on price, and you've probably lost more awards based on price than you care to talk about there. I really think those cleaning standards are going to raise, and I really honestly believe that there's going to be an increase in the spend, which is good for every single one of us. The bottom line, we cannot any longer, we can't afford to take the risk of proper cleaning programs. Together we've got to raise the bar. We've got to prioritize the need for essential cleaning services. We've got to be specific about cleaning and disinfecting protocol, and I'll talk about that as we get through the program here a little bit today. If you focus on that one sort of line, cleaning and disinfecting protocol, you can expect an unbelievable return on investment, okay? The public's going to demand cleaner, safer facilities, and what I'm suggesting is certainly to work with your industry experts to lower that risk of an outbreak. Okay, budgeting. Let's talk about the almighty dollar. We just talked about it with price-based versus quality-based cleaning. It's an absolute must that everybody understands that out of every single dollar in your custodial janitorial spend, over 90% is attributed to labor. That means less than 10% is the cost of all supplies, right? The price of packaging is irrelevant. It doesn't matter if you pay $50 for a pail or $75 for a pail. It really is, what is the ready-to-use cost? Because not very few products are the same dilution. It's the true ready-to-use cost that you need to focus on. What's the cost per hand dry? Not the case of towels and tissue. What is the cost of, what's the square footage coverage of your floor finish? It's nothing about what's the quality of your floor finish. It's nothing really about how much the pail costs or the case costs, okay? So you've really got to focus savings in these areas, and I really like to focus on SOP efficiencies, and I'll talk about that as we go along and add cleaning and disinfecting protocol in there, right? Where should you focus? Productivity. employee wellness, validating your results, right? Disinfecting protocol, and also develop motivational campaigns. You see my little dollars down there where they're circled in red. That's less than 10% of the spend. That's everything you buy, from equipment and buckets and floor finish and entrance matting and mops and brooms and brushes. It doesn't matter what it is, you're spending less than 10%. You need to really focus, particularly with COVID, on that 90% of your spend and where it goes. Okay, tying into that, let's talk about quality. Let's talk about product quality. Okay, and I just look. There's lots of tools you can pick and things like that, and there's a lot of people buying things on based on price. But this is an ugly mop head here. I mean, original from our industry from 50, 60, 70, 80 years ago. Maybe it's cotton. Maybe it's a blend. I mean, maybe it's $3. Maybe it's as much as $8, whatever. It works fine. That particular one is done its time without question, but there's a lot of drawbacks that you really want to look at. Number one, it's not absorbent. It'll probably leave a residual behind. It'll leave strings and strands behind, requiring extra labor to pick them up. Poor quality sewing, so it falls apart rapidly. It's difficult to rinse out and clean. It creates foul odors. It looks dirty, reflecting a negative perception from your workforce and also the visitors in your building. It increases the overall labor and spend because it really takes away, it's not an efficient tool, it takes away from your custodians and janitors that really should be focusing on more things. It is certainly not sustainable in any way because the lifespan is very short, and it ends up in landfills if it goes to the appropriate area. So this could be $3 to $8, okay? Just look at an example here, okay? I've got a microfiber tube mop here. Okay, basically based off of, microfiber technology there. So let's compare that compared to the cotton mop I just showed you, okay? It definitely costs more, okay? It could be $6 to $16, but the overall cost to own it is dramatically less. The return on an investment is tremendous. It's dramatically higher. You know, it outlasts cotton mops on average by 5 to 10 times. So guess what? Okay, 5 to 10 times longer life for a few extra dollars. I mean, that's an unbelievable return. That means 5 to 10 times less cotton mops in the landfill. That improves sustainability directives, okay? It's more absorbent, fewer trips back to the bucket. It absorbs more liquid. So guess what? Your floors dry faster. You can return the room back to service faster, and there's less risk of a slip and fall. Okay, what's the average cost of a slip and fall in our industry today? It's probably $25,000 and up. Okay, so you're going to spend as much as $16 on a mop. I think you got a pretty good return on investment there. Okay, it's easier to rinse out. There's less risk of cross-contamination throughout the facility. Let's talk about in relation to COVID-19. There's less chance of foul odors and discoloration, and it improves facility cleanliness and public perception. If you don't buy that mop, it's because you probably don't know about it, okay? So look, we're in a trade show here, a virtual trade show. Challenge the mop manufacturers with what they've got and how it can basically help you, okay? So really, the summary here is tools of the trade. If there ever was a time to do a complete review of your custodial tools, now it is. Wet buckets. If you're still buying a single cavity bucket, you can no longer afford to do that. Double cavity buckets is the way you want to go. Good quality scrapers that don't break, that actually don't scar and mar the floor, that actually work extremely well. Scouring pads and sponges that last more than one time only. Trigger spray devices. I mean, if you're using a basic 29-cent trigger sprayer, you're going to expect 29 cents worth of value, right? If you buy a trigger sprayer or even a pump-up sprayer that I'm very fond of, I mean, your return on investment is amazing. Mop handles, dusting tools, flat mop systems, PPE materials. Right now, we've gone through a major demand and shortage of PPE materials. Now's the time. I think the industry's catching up a little bit there. I'd recommend you do a little bit more research and find out the better quality ones that give you some of those attributes of your cleaning program and objectives there. Paper towel and tissue programs, skin care programs, odor management programs, doesn't matter what it is. The public will definitely be watching and judging us when when we go back to full facility use. They will be extremely sensitive. They'll be very attentive. They will be very, I'm sure they'll be all over social media at the first opportunity to basically complain there. And we really have one shot at doing it. Okay? Let's talk about the 5 disinfectant security elements, right? And these are key for you. And this is really the biggest area of failure. The best tip we could give you probably today overall, if you remember one thing, this is really what you want to remember. So there are 5 disinfectant elements for ensuring you're lowering the risk of an outbreak, okay? Number 1 is you always want to use a registered product, whether it's a DIN registered or EPA registered, it doesn't matter, anywhere in North America, throughout the world, you want to read and understand the label. And that's really, I'll guarantee you that 75% or the majority of people do not read and understand the label. If you read the label, everything for success is actually on that label. Okay, it's not just mix it wherever you want and spray it and wipe it and do whatever. There are laws under that label to use, and it's really our duty in our industry to make sure everyone follows them. Dilution. Regardless of whether you're spraying through a fogger or electrostatic sprayer or a pump-up sprayer or a mister, a trigger sprayer, a flip cap, an open charge bucket, it doesn't matter. Diluting that product properly is absolutely essential. If you mix more because you really feel that a disinfectant, if it's mixed more, it'll cover more, is better, you are incorrect. If you mix it lean, or in other words, a little light, okay, you're not getting the ppm that is required in that facility to guarantee that you will kill and address all the stated pathogens on that label, okay? Third, pre-cleaning the surface. You cannot spray a disinfectant on a surface and let it and walk away and expect a disinfectant or a sanitizing claim. Okay, you have to remove gross film and gross debris so you don't really affect the detergency or the kill properties of that disinfectant there by using up some of the kill properties that actually will dilute or water down or take away from the end result. So pre-clean surfaces, then apply your disinfectant. You've got to respect the dwell time. Every product is different. Could be 60 seconds, it could be 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes. Typically, if it's a quat based in our industry, it's 10 minutes, okay? Well, now, I know we just introduced in the last year a neutral-based 5-minute quat that is outstanding and with norovirus kill claims and effective on the Health Canada list and things like that. But if you don't respect that dwell time, you're not going to achieve what it is on the label you've set out to do, okay? And number 5, very critical on food contact surfaces, maybe around schools with preschool toys and things like that, you want to do a potable water rinse. I will guarantee you the majority of our industry is not following that. Typically, it's a spray and wipe. That's what we're doing. That's our largest area of failure in our opinion there. It's also one of the most popular questions that we get on how to dilute and how do I use this and everything. And all of the instructions are on every single label. Okay, we've started at Charlotte a webinar series since the beginning of March. We've covered litmus paper, ppm, how to test, how to mix, how to dilute, all of those particular things, so you can reach out and look at that. And other assorted vendors and manufacturers here will have that as well. Okay, but make sure that you do. Now, here's a common pre-cleaning question, okay, because people say, well, do I have to pre-clean using the disinfectant? Okay, well, absolutely not, unless infection control dictates that. Okay, so we're a big believer in really caringly and removing organic matter, and then really, I guess, sparingly and thoughtfully and caringly using a disinfectant to kill the risk of any bacteria and viruses. Okay, if you are, there's many attributes in choosing the right cleaner, okay? Can be a general purpose cleaner, as long as infection control doesn't dictate that you use a disinfectant, okay? But general purpose cleaners are usually deemed safer. That'll improve employee wellness. You'll have less complaints, fewer issues with absenteeism, eye irritants, skin irritants, respiratory issues, right? Because disinfectants are a little more aggressive than a general purpose cleaner. It's pretty simple, okay? They're less expensive solutions. Generally, it's less money to buy, and it's a lower ready-to-use cost, right? They're generally higher dilution ratios, which gives you less plastic in the landfill and fewer containers, and the cleaning performance of a general purpose cleaner is generally much higher because it's focused on detergency as opposed to disinfectant claims, okay? So unless the infection control dictates it, as far as sustainable thoughts, I would use a very good quality general purpose cleaner to clean in step one, and then follow up with my good quality disinfectant or sanitizer from there. That's a very common question that we get. Let's talk about measurement of clean, okay? Because we generally clean visually, right? And cleaning really is the effective removal of unwanted matter from surfaces. There's obviously a heightened focus in our industry now. Canada actually now has a legislated workplace program that's monitored by the government that actually is allowing putting protocol in there, and it's also being tied into a WSIB payout if the workplace doesn't cover it. So that's a good initiative from the government to say, listen, we need to do this, and these are the reasons why. But coming down to clean, how do we know it's clean? How do we validate it, right? How do we know what we've achieved? What I do know is a large percentage of us really judge cleaning by the smell or visual appearance. If it smells fairly neutral or clean, it's okay. If it smells bad, it's dirty, okay? And that's not always the case. And if it's visually dirty, we can't, then we clean it, but we're really, infections, bacteria, viruses are invisible. So we can no longer do it that way, right? Post-coronavirus, when we return to work, okay, we'll change that for sure. You will see validation and measurement come into our industry without question. As a matter of fact, there's probably many vendors and manufacturers and distributors here this week, as a matter of fact, that'll talk. But challenge them, okay? That'll improve our standards. Cleanliness is a must, but, let's measure and validate what it is that we do, okay? So I'll just mention a couple of ways we currently do it there. Scientific validation, this is an ATP meter, so that's adenosine triphosphate. It basically measures relative light units in bacteria, okay? It's a numerical number. There are different brands that go from 0 to 10,000, but different manufacturers, they'll have lower numbers or higher numbers. But really, the bottom line is whichever one you buy, it doesn't matter to me or us, really. It's really get the one that fits your facility the best and is probably the easiest for you to use. The bottom line, it's a scientific number. The lower the number, generally the cleaner it is, okay? So that'll lower the rate or the risk of an outbreak. Some of them are data driven. They have a benchmark, some software programs that allow you to measure their progress, and it's not really about a reprimanding tool. This is, you really use this as a motivational tool. So you would go in and measure your room, get your numbers, then do your regular cleaning protocol, measure your numbers. Are you winning or losing? Are you gaining or are you getting worse, right? And then some of those high risk areas, you have time to appropriately focus on those areas and really match your cleaning program with lowering your number. And it doesn't matter what the number is. There are guidelines to go by that I'll talk about in a minute. But these are easily implemented into an SOP program. It provides accountability. It gives you an increased emphasis. It gives you also backup when there's complaints or the public or if you're in a school, Mr. and Mrs. Mum come in or whoever it is that come in and says, prove to me that you've got the proper cleaning protocol. Well, one of these and what you've done, one of these can actually do that. And there are definitely many brands of them. Okay. This one's a Hygiena. It's just one I happen to have here. And typical number ranges are 0 to 10 as a sanitary surface. If you're between 11 and 20, you should review your cleaning and disinfecting protocol. And if it's between 30 and 50 or or higher, it could be an infectious warning. And it doesn't matter what the number is, okay? You always want to start off with a benchmark and go lower, okay? So you can see some typical ones there, 93, 287, 0. It doesn't matter what the number is. Make sure you're going in the or the right direction. Ask your custodial janitorial teams to say, listen, help us lower the numbers here. Reward constant improvement and advertise as well, okay? What are the causes of infectious threats? Incorrect cleaning practices, incorrect cleaning protocol. Okay, failure to prioritize and recognize the importance of our responsibility as a custodial janitorial team. Okay, it is our job to protect the public. We are the first line of defense, right? The misuse of disinfectants by not following the label instructions. Believe me, the label instructions are on every single product. You follow them, you're going to have better results than just winging it. Okay, the lack of knowledge and understanding the severity of the situation that we're in. Just wearing this mask, right, will help us dramatically. Washing your hands, social distancing, alcohol-based hand sanitizer, doesn't matter. But also, what are one of the other causes? Failing to measure our results and progress. Okay, that's a major negative contribution. So take some of these slides, which I know will be available. If not, you can reach out to us. Okay, these are all helping you put together a proper cleaning and disinfectant protocol in your facility. We need to do that. One brand name is Optisolve, and this is new technology. It actually won the Innovation Award of the 2019 ISSA, which I believe it was in Las Vegas, as a matter of fact. This is basically taking an ATP meter with recognizing numerical, but it's really doing digital imaging. And if you look at a standard keyboard, right in the middle it says visual inspection. It looks fairly clean. If you look on the right, it can identify those hot zones where there is contaminants, possible contaminants, and risk of viruses and bacteria. This is all instantly done, and I believe it's on an app today and whatever, but that's Optisolve, okay? So be sure to research that. That's amazing. If everybody could run around their buildings and do this imaging, really making the invisible visible, wow, I mean, that's just amazing, okay? Let's talk about floors for a minute. That's the home of microorganisms. I talked a little earlier about them being a droplet-based. It doesn't matter what type of floor it is. Floors are the largest reservoir of pathogenic microorganisms in buildings, okay? Doesn't matter if it's a wood floor or in a sports floor. And you talk about wood floor gymnasiums and sports floors where the students and the athletes are running around and they're sweating and maybe spitting a little bit, and you've got juices and pop and coffee and whatever. That's a great area for viruses to transfer. If you're in a warehouse, a production facility, hallways, retail locations, schools, restaurant floors, the same exact thing. And we generally we mop the floor, and that's about as good as we get, actually. But really, when it comes to COVID-19 and having a safer end result, let's talk about what we can do here, okay? Let's talk about floor care programs and the purpose of floor finish. We all like shiny floors. There's a cost to shiny floors, but floor finish improves the image. It produces shine. It includes, it improves foot traction. It really helps you protect capital investment of your substrates by reducing staining. It'll actually lower dust levels and really improve indoor air quality. But here's what it really does compared to COVID-19. Okay, if you look at if you look at a tile under a microscope or a good pair of glasses, okay, you'll see that it's very porous, okay? And sealing that floor with a floor finish and a sealer, seal those pores and cavities and things where droplets can be reduced by going down into the floor. If it goes into the cracks and tiles, it then becomes a perfect host area for viruses and bacteria to grow. So why would we want to maintain coatings of sealer and finish? To lower the risk of COVID-19 harboring in that substrate. okay? And then transferring through your facility. So, and not just COVID-19, but it could be influenza, it could be C. difficile, it could be any form of bacteria and virus that goes there. Okay, here's a couple of things with floor care programs. This is just what we do here, but this is 5 critical elements of floor care, why you would do it, and this is definitely in direct comparison with COVID-19 in our pandemic challenge. Okay, so if you really want to know why you're doing it and the benefits and how to do it, that is here. Okay, there are maintenance cycles of floor care for also to contribute here, from pre-routine to routine to interim to partial restorative and complete restorative. Now is the time to involve yourself while you're at the show virtually, challenging your suppliers and manufacturers to say, how can you help me? Okay, and there's lots of good people here that can help you without question. Wood floors, the same thing. Okay, maintaining a coat of a couple of coats of sealer, or sorry, a couple of coatings on there of polymer and the wood floor specialty coatings. I mean, doing the same thing, right? Maintaining a protective layer there that does not allow COVID-19 or other viruses to really harbor and grow and multiply. Okay, let's talk about the importance of disinfecting equipment, right? Equipment has been sitting idle. It has not been used near as much. Most likely, it's even been left with dirty solution left in the recovery tanks, or the lids have been closed on the solution recovery tanks, which actually create an extremely high breeding zone. Okay, it's probably more than likely a health risk due to the possible growth of bacteria and viruses. Okay, and it's certainly producing foul odors, and all throughout your solution system, by the way. And equipment is like a custodian and janitor. It touches or comes into contact with a lot of surfaces throughout the facility, so we need to realize that and lower the risk and stop the spread. So what can we do? And this is just typical equipment, and I'm not picking on any particular brand here, okay? But if you look at the mop head, the mop bucket on the left-hand side, that's single cavity. You cannot afford to do that anymore. There's a mop that looks like the sister or the brother of the one I had on the earlier slide there. I mean, that you've got your money's worth out of that, and you're going to spread that debris all throughout the building, okay? And whether it has COVID or whether it has bacteria or whether it has, grease or grime or whatever, I mean, it's just not clean. That I took that picture in a convenience store in, I believe it was Western Canada. In fact, I know it was Western Canada, but I mean, how clean, and that was a sub shop in the whole convenience store and gas station all in one. How clean do you think that is? Do you think they're spreading anything? You bet they are. The other one, that's how you want to leave a piece of equipment while it's parked. Rinse it out, leave the recovery tank open so it dries. The other one as well, the same exact thing. But what we recommend, put a disinfectant solution through the solution system, let it run for a few minutes, in fact, and let it really disinfect and sanitize the whole entire solution system. All of those hoses with the nooks and crannies, the squeegee blades, the up towards the vac motors, and all of those areas where things, foul odors grow and bacteria and viruses do, okay? And more appropriate probably too, is maybe just not a neutral cleaner anymore throughout your facility. I don't recommend a disinfectant every single day in most facilities, but I do recommend cleaning with a neutral cleaner, and then one day per week, perhaps, depending on the size of the facility and the traffic, add in a disinfectant there where you just do that. You've got that peace of mind of disinfecting and you're not spreading disease, okay? We have, you can see up in the left-hand corner, there's a YouTube video we have online that really talks in about 10 minutes how to clean and disinfect an auto scrubber before returning it to service. Okay, and it doesn't matter if it's a carpet extractor or a wet vac. These are things that you need to do. That's what our industry is about, is educating people and transferring that knowledge. Okay, so we'll go there. Some cleaning methods to consider and prioritize, because I said we were going to talk about what can you do different. Okay, there's very simple, cost-effective ways to efficiently clean and disinfect. We've got to place a higher priority on employee wellness, right? Employee wellness is key. Okay, we can't afford to harm people. We can't afford to introduce them to viruses and bacteria. We can't afford slip and falls and things. So we need to really look at these things, right? And I think if you were looking for a planning for 2021, basically, on things you could improve, whether you're a building service contractor through your offering of your RFPs and things, or whether you're running a custodial, janitorial, cleaning, you're responsible for that in a building, a healthcare facility, whatever, this is good planning, right? Your PPE, selecting that. Your documented education. What are you doing to train your people, okay? Employee and visitor signage, the plexi guards for reception and things, your hand sanitizer stations, hand washing, personal space cleaning, okay? The emphasis here, okay, is really to make sure you adapt to all of these things and work within your facility, okay? So increase cleaning frequency, more precise, specific to those hand contact points, right? Mechanized or faster cleaning methods, pump up sprayers are a very affordable way to do that, which is really 5 to 10 times faster than a trigger sprayer, and the custodial janitorial people love them, right? You can actually increase the dwell time. You can actually put product on that gives them the detergency, so it's easier for them, okay? Selecting products that give you a higher square footage yield, okay? And lowering and addressing the high cost of labor, and that's things that you need to really prioritize to lower your costs. SOPs, standard operating procedures. If you have not looked at those things, you need to look at them because generally training lacks documentation. It's a visual approach. Generally new hires shadow a custodian or janitor for a week or two or a month or whatever, and it's been long overlooked. But these are checks and balances, right? And there's all kinds of written procedures and formats of them there, okay? But really it ensures regulatory compliance, safety protocols, step-by-step procedures, quality assurance checklist. So in other words, they cleaned a certain area at a certain time, and that's about validation and measurement. Okay, here's some that this is just a checklist going through an office daily, and disinfecting checklist. So you can see that there's lots of examples. There's ones that are visual to say, look, I can teach somebody in our world to say, look, see the areas that are circled? That's definitely what I need you to clean. And you can pick these and fine tune them to your own facility, but that's a visual SOP example. Okay, there's ones that are more complex and written and things like that, but it doesn't matter. You should really look at them. There's lots of information out there about facility surveys and SOPs and post-coronavirus protection strategies. There's lots of information for you there. There's all kinds of people have online learning membership programs that already, ISSA in their format has 22 courses already on coronavirus COVID-19. 22 courses right now, as a matter of fact, if you sign up, right? There's 31 the ISSA seminars from last year. I believe all of them will be on this year, right? As a matter of fact, well, actually, I think it says it right there, 21 of them, right? So there's all kinds of online, because virtual is where we need to be, right? Here's one that I'm particularly proud of, and we're going to wrap things up here soon, but we have gone over and above with educating facilities and our custodial janitorial world. Since March the 13th, we started a weekly and bi-weekly webinar series. You can see the dates, you can see the topics. If you're really looking for some training, for some ways to lower the risk of an outbreak, and you're looking for good, honest information that you can take and help and educate yourself and your teams, it is right here. And we're not the only ones with it, by the way. I mean, there are people that have it as well. This is one that we're particularly proud of, and it's there for you to look at, and they'll be there for the foreseeable future for sure. Okay, so really the last slide, it's now time for the virtual trade show floor. Normally we'd kind of leave the stage and leave the room, and we'd go out and we'd have a drink of water or coffee, and we'd start going around the trade show. Well, now's the time for you to do that virtually. Take some of this information, right? Challenge these manufacturers and vendors. There's amazing selection of them out there. Prioritize and focus. Really just pick your top 2 or 3 issues that you're having. I'd have COVID-19, or I'd have healthcare, or I'd have SOP programs or whatever, or validation and measurement, I talk about the mop, for instance. Go to the mop manufacturer you see and challenge them with that. I mean, it doesn't have to be great big complex programs, right? They're all can assist you to achieve clean, healthy facilities, right? Get that professional education. Involve yourself with more of these speaking engagements. We just absolutely love talking to you. I like it personally in person because I usually give out little trinkets and things like that, which I can't do that virtually, but maybe we can do that next year. But surround yourself with those that can truly assist you there. Raise the bar, be proud of what we do, and really that conducts today's session for you. What was amazing is really trying to condense it in this short of a time period here, because you could go on for days. But look, we're here for you anytime. We're at the trade show amongst hundreds and hundreds of others. So we'll open it up for questions now. And I'd like to thank you on behalf of Charlotte Products worldwide. Thank you for attending today. We really appreciate what it is you do day in and day out. Stay safe and practice your social distancing. Wash your hands and wear a mask. Thank you.
All right. Hey, Jen. I can't hear Jen.
Thanks for a great presentation.
Yep, that's good.
So our first question is, do you have any specific recommendations on companies that offer video-based training for cleaning staff on safety and cleaning techniques?
Good question, Jen, for sure. I'd use the ISSA. I would go to them to really recommend those resources. I would ask that question with the participants in the show virtually as well, and it's a great place to start, and you'll find once you start looking, there will be many of them there to take advantage of for sure.
Great. Are you going to have the slides available somewhere of this presentation?
Yes, we certainly will. I'm not sure, Jen, whether it'll be through ISSA. I believe it will, just as last year's were. But if not, they could reach out to us at charlotteproducts.com for sure. But I'm positive they would be through the ISSA for sure.
Right, and Charlotte Products will have it listed on their website as well.
Correct.
Thanks for sharing your thoughts on the importance of wearing a mask. The demonstration was very convincing and effective. Should we be laundering these often in a disinfectant solution, or is a good quality laundry detergent okay?
That's a great question, and it really comes down to what's the type of facility that you're in, what's the people count in that facility. I mean, if there's a lot of people in that facility, a workforce and things, obviously the more often you should do that. If you're a healthcare provider, if you're in food processing, obviously the higher the risk, you certainly should be doing it more often. Not a disinfectant by any means. A good quality laundry detergent will work well. A good rinse and a hang to dry. And if the facility has a high population, like I said, healthcare and stuff, more frequent laundering of them for sure. Definitely.
Okay.
And when that doesn't matter, disposable is disposable, but cloth is cloth. And by all means, that's your first line of defense when you're out in the public for sure.
Great. You showed us cockroaches in a hotel room. Is it true that they can carry a multitude of harmful bacteria and viruses? And what should we do to stop them from coming up and out of the drains?
Yeah, most of them do come. I mean, they don't walk in the door and they don't come in the window. They generally come from a moist area through traps in drains and sewers and things like that. And what they're doing is they're coming in for warmth for one, and they're also coming in as a food source is what they're doing. So anything that's in drains, any kind of pee traps in those specific areas, you think everything we do gets flushed down there, like food matter, organic matter, whatever it is, and it's it's a great little area for them to live. So what we recommend is a good drain treatment program, whether it's a powder or an actual liquid. But if you're a hotel, for instance, with housekeeping, a once a week treatment would be suffice. If you're food processing, if you're a restaurant or catering business and you've got those portable wine areas, serving areas on cocktail nights and things, I mean, those drain treatments will keep away the fruit flies, the organic matter, the foul odors, and my friendly little bugs. And I know in the PowerPoint I called them friendly. I really wouldn't call them friendly. That was a king size bed, by the way. They were huge. So obviously pay attention to all drains, whether it's showers, sinks, hot tubs, tubs themselves, bars, those types of things, and you can find those at the show here for sure.
Okay, great. How many coats of floor finish should we keep on floors to prevent or lower the risk of COVID-19 droplets?
You should always maintain a minimum of 2. Again, it depends on the facility. If you've got much higher traffic, you should be 3, 4, 5 coats. If you're into a burnishing program or really a spray buff here and there, but 2 coats will really seal it. And I guess if you look at a cellophane sponge or cellulose sponge, it is, and you look at that surface and you see without the wrapper, it's very porous. So all of those droplets can go in there. And think of it when you buy it with the cellophane on it where it's sealed. Well, that's what your floor finish is like. So I'd always maintain at least 2 coats of finish for sure for the best protection and reducing that cross-contamination risk.
Okay. What are your thoughts surrounding misters and electrostatic sprayers?
Well, that's a new one. They came out of the woodwork in the last 6 months like I've never seen anything in our industry come out before. There's been a lot of people just came to market with not a lot of due diligence where good quality manufacturers did the proper diligence. It really doesn't matter the mechanism you're using, whether it's a fogger, whether it's a mister, whether it's an electrostatic sprayer, a pump-up sprayer, even open charge buckets. It really comes down to the proper dilution ratio, the registered product, the respecting the dwell time. Some of those sprayers, and I mean, if the label says 60 seconds or 10 minutes or 5 minutes, you have to respect that. Follow those 5 elements of disinfectant security, because if you don't, you're not achieving what you've set out to do. So there will be, pathogenic matter left behind and whatever. Some of the sprayers have a smaller micron. A smaller micron typically means drier. So if you need a 5-minute dwell and you've got a sprayer that puts it on fairly dry, then you're not going to achieve it. The other thing too with the sprayer is you'll see people walk in a room and they start fogging the whole entire room, just crazy, like spraying it. If they haven't pre-cleaned, they're not following the disinfectant security elements, at all. So regardless of the device itself, you must follow the guidelines of every single label.
Great. This attendee is asking and commenting, we have this type of floor being in their kitchens and restrooms and not a smooth surface. So it's a bit of a rough surface. What type of mop head would you recommend for epoxy non-slip floors?
Yeah, microfiber tube mop is probably where I would start first. That is a total cylindrical strand that if you've got rough surfaces, it's much more durable. It'll last a whole lot longer than just cotton strands, for instance. So I would definitely start there. One thing too about a microfiber tube mop, if you're typically using a large mop, a large string mop in your facility, go down one size to a medium because the absorbency rate of it and the amount of detergency it holds is far greater, and you'll find that it'll glide fairly well as well over those rough surfaces without fatiguing the custodians.
Okay. This question's from a building service contractor. Do you believe that facilities will be willing to pay for quality-based cleaning services?
In the new era coming, absolutely, as long as your company markets it correctly. I mean, you've got to tell the facility what's in it for them, what's their return on investment. And if I was a building service contractor, I would be leading with employee wellness, lowering the risk of an outbreak, being safer for my occupants of that building. And if I take that and I put my ducks in a row with all those facts and figures, which are all positive today, because I think we'll agree we've had enough of negative. I think that the people, really approving the spend will be that much more open to that particular. But make sure you're introducing those validation and measurement programs in your RFPs. Talk about validation, measuring results, benchmarking, and constant improvement, and you'll find the money will get easier for sure.
Okay. Thank you for sharing the 5 critical elements of disinfecting security. Has this always been the protocol to follow, or is it new since COVID appeared?
Since day one, Jen. Okay, it hasn't changed since whenever the product was manufactured. It has not changed. So I mean, we've had new viruses and bacteria strains along the way for hundreds of years. We're not done with COVID or whatever's next after COVID there. So make sure you follow that label for sure, and that's your best line of defense. But really executing and implementing on how to use that product properly according to the label is really, your best return.
Okay, great. And your past webinars, you mentioned that those were available on your website.
Yeah, they're there, charlotteproducts.com. They're there. There's about 28 of them, and I think we have about 4 seconds left there. So anyway, I think we're cut off here now, as a matter of fact. So anyway, thanks very much, and we look forward to seeing you virtually. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Goodbye.